As an editor, it's your job to determine what shots to leave in a film and what shots to cut out. What shots you cut out can be as difficult to decide as what to leave in. So in this unit, we are going to be cutting down our wedding movie trailer from 2.5 minutes down to 1 minute long. Editing a 1 minute long video can be really difficult, but it is a really real world situation. Instagram usually cuts videos off at about the 1 minute mark before it kicks you into Reels. And just in general, videos are much more likely to be watched if they're under 2 minutes than if they're over 2 minutes. So knowing how to cut things down and get it shorter is only going to benefit you and your client in the long run. This unit isn't going to be quite as technical, but it's going to be a really good opportunity for us to strengthen our creative muscles. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Since we already have our wedding movie trailer set, what we're going to do is over here in our project panel, I'm just going to right click and duplicate our wedding movie trailer. Now our original one, I'm going to name long. I'm just going to do dash long. And then our second one, I'm going to rename it short. So then you can see here that my original wedding movie trailer then becomes the long edit. And I'm going to double click here and open my short edit. So I'm just going to go ahead and set a lock on that line. So there's two ways to edit music. The first way is to just cut this down. Here's our 1 minute mark right here. That's 1 minute. So I want it to be like 59 seconds. So we just cut it down. And then we just add in a fade. So just do a long fade. So let's listen to that. Just slowing that down. Okay, so that's a really easy way to edit music. However, it's not that professional. It's kind of amateurish and it doesn't really sound that good. It's kind of unsatisfying to hear a song just kind of trail off, especially, you know, in that first minute is kind of where it's starting to just build up. But if you're in a pinch, that's one way that you can edit down music. A better way to do it is by listening to where the verse and the chorus is and cutting those out. So you can see here on my timeline, I've already marked in red. This is the introduction. This is the first verse. This is the second half of the first verse. So all this is the first verse. This is a little bit of a bridge, technically still part of the first verse. And then here is the first chorus. So let's just go ahead and I'll leave my video on, but let's mostly just listen to the music and watch my my points here on the timeline. So we got that intro and then the chorus. I'm just going to fast forward it. So we're just listening. This is still that first verse. Here we have a little shift. It's kind of building up. And then the chorus. Little bridge, and then here, our second verse. And then these, I didn't change the color, but that's the second part of that second verse. Little bridge. And then the second chorus. Okay, so now we have like a little bridge. It's different than any other part of the song. And then we kind of have a reprise of the chorus. Okay, so the second option when editing music is, so we have the first verse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here And right around here, here is where my chorus starts. So I'm just gonna go frame by frame and listen to where that song starts, where that measure starts, I should say. Okay, so you can kind of hear it right there. So I'm gonna just cut that with my blade tool, zoom back out, and then this is where my second chorus starts. So you can see here, my whole first chorus, the first verse, and then that little bridge starting right here. And then I'm just gonna try and find that same measure, where that measure comes in, where the bass kind of starts up. Okay, so there we go. And then I'm just gonna select this middle section and delete it. So then we have our little intro. I'm gonna move this down. So here you can see I still have, at the beginning, I have my introduction. We have our first verse. And then instead of going into the first chorus, it goes into the second chorus. So let's listen and see what that sounds like. Okay, so we can see it's a little rough. Let's just go ahead and add a transition there. See what that sounds like. Okay, so it needs a little bit of finagling, a little bit of fine tuning. Might need a few frames here or there added or taken away, but you can see how I cut down the song by like a whole minute just by taking those parts out. So if I worked really hard at it, I could definitely cut it down more. Editing music is quite tricky, and some songs are harder and some songs are easier to edit and to get them as short as you want. This song is actually quite difficult to edit, and so if you don't quite feel up to the challenge of editing music quite yet, you can use the short version of I'll Be There by Foster that I've included in the Baker Wedding folder. So go ahead and just use that. But if you're feeling up to the challenge, feel free to try and cut that song down as much as you can. It can be a little bit tricky because while the beats and the measures might be the same, the words are a little different. And so maybe you'll put on a fade to try and get the beats a little bit more consistent, and then the words kind of mesh into each other. So you have to be a little bit creative sometimes. And sometimes it'll work out perfectly, and sometimes it won't work at all, and you'll have to just start over editing music. So be patient with yourself when editing music. And again, just know that this song is kind of difficult to start off with. So again, if you want to just use my version of the short song for this video, feel free to do that. Before moving on to the next lesson, go to your video and try your hand at editing music. Even if you just make one edit, just try and see what it's like. And then feel free to use that audio or use the short version of I'll Be There by Foster that I've provided for you in the Baker Wedding folder.